What do you do when the truth you've been clinging to for years finally shatters in front of you? When the man who promised love and unity ends up dividing the very family he built? When women who once stood side by side start walking away one by one, not out of bitterness, but because they've finally had enough? If you've been watching Sister Wives, you already know. The cracks in this family didn't just happen overnight. They've been growing for years, quietly, painfully, until it all exploded. Hi, friends, I'm Olivia, and this is TLC's Sister Wives Secrets. If you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like if you've ever yelled at your TV during one of Cody's tantrums, and let me know in the comments, who do you think saw it all coming first? Christine? Mary? Or did we, the viewers, pick up on it before they even did? Because what's happening on this show isn't just reality TV drama. It's real emotional fallout. This is about control, about survival, about what happens when a woman finally decides she's not going to be invisible anymore. Christine stood up and walked out. Mary stayed too long and got pushed out quietly. Cody tried to hold on to an image of being the man in charge, but what we're really watching is a slow motion collapse of everything he once claimed to stand for. This is a story about truth, breaking through years of silence, about women reclaiming their lives after living in a system that demanded loyalty, no matter the cost. And trust me, what's coming next will leave you speechless. Let's talk about it. Christine's exit wasn't just a plot twist, it was a turning point in the entire Sister Wives universe. For years, we watched her put on that bright smile, keep the peace, and carry the emotional load in a family that rarely gave her the same energy back. But by season 17, something in Christine shifted. She wasn't trying to hold it together anymore. She was done performing. One of the most powerful moments came when Christine sat alone with the camera and said something we'd never heard from a wife in this family before. I don't feel emotionally safe with Cody. And that hit different. It wasn't said in anger or with drama. It was quiet, measured, and raw. She wasn't just walking away from a bad marriage, she was walking toward a version of herself that she hadn't been allowed to be for a very long time. Christine told the truth, and that truth was brutal. Cody didn't love her, he hadn't for a while. He said it himself almost carelessly, like it was no big deal, but for Christine, that was the moment everything broke wide open. She had been trying. She had been holding on, raising the kids, maintaining the sisterhood, but she couldn't do it anymore. Not when love and respect were no longer mutual. And here's the thing. How many of us sat there watching that unfold and felt our own heartbreak echoing in her story? That moment when you realize someone stopped choosing you long ago, when you're the only one fighting for something that's already gone. Christine's story felt personal for a lot of people because it was. She wasn't just leaving Cody. She was standing up for herself in a way that so many women wish they could. And when she said goodbye, she didn't look back with bitterness. She walked away with grace. Season 18 gave us even more of that strength. Christine wasn't just surviving anymore. She was thriving. Her relationship with her kids blossomed. You could see it in every scene. How much more at peace she seemed, how much more laughter there was in her home. When she spent time with her daughters, there was joy, connection, and freedom. No tension in the air, no walking on eggshells. And yes, we saw glimpses of her stepping into a new chapter romantically, too. Christine wasn't just healing, she was glowing. She talked about how she felt seen and loved again. For those who've followed her journey from the beginning, it was emotional to watch her rediscover that kind of affection, that ease, after so many years of feeling sidelined. It felt like she got to reclaim a piece of her that was buried under years of sacrifice. For women watching, Christine became more than a character. She became a mirror. She showed what it looks like to choose peace over obligation, to say, I'm not okay, and then actually do something about it. Her leaving wasn't about punishing Cody. It was about saving herself. And in a world where women are often taught to stick it out, to not give up on family, to make excuses for behavior that chips away at their self-worth, Christine's choice mattered. It was bold. It was honest. It gave viewers permission to imagine a different ending for themselves, too. And maybe that's why her story struck such a deep chord. Because when Christine walked out that door, she didn't just leave Cody, she lit the path for everyone else watching. Mary's story has always been the quiet one, less explosive than Christine's, less outspoken than Janelle's, but maybe the most tragic of them all. If Christine's journey was about breaking free, Mary's was about slowly realizing that she was already left behind. Her struggle didn't come with big fights or dramatic exits. It came in the silence, in the long, painful waiting. It's impossible to talk about Mary's heartbreak without going back to the catfishing scandal. That moment changed everything. It wasn't just about being tricked online, it was about a woman who was desperately lonely. Mary had been the first wife, the one who helped build this entire plural marriage idea with Cody. She gave up the legal marriage so he could adopt Robyn's kids, believing in the family's future. And then she was cast aside. After the catfishing incident, Cody emotionally shut the door. He said over and over that he didn't feel safe with her, that he didn't want a romantic relationship. And that was it. No effort to repair, no empathy, just distance. We watched Mary hold on to a dream that Cody had already given up on. For years she stayed, clinging to the hope that something might shift, that maybe if she proved her loyalty, he'd choose her again. But he didn't. In fact, he became colder. His words about her were often dismissive, sometimes even cruel. He'd sit in interviews and say he didn't consider them married, that there was no spark. And Mary? She sat there beside him, visibly hurting, and still tried to smile through it. She defended him. She said she was still committed. The silence wasn't just between them. It was wrapped around her whole identity in the family. She was present, but unseen. There was a moment, subtle, easy to miss, when Mary said she didn't want to leave because she didn't want to give up on something she never wanted to end. That sentence was devastating because it meant she knew she wasn't loved anymore, but she wasn't ready to walk away. And that's a different kind of heartbreak. Not the kind that explodes, but the kind that lingers, that slowly hollows you out. In the final scenes leading to her departure, Mary finally stopped pretending. It wasn't loud or angry. She just let go. Not because she stopped caring, but because she had finally accepted that she was the only one still fighting. Her goodbye wasn't fiery. It was quiet, composed, and full of unspoken pain. But there was strength in that silence. Mary's story shows that sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't leaving in anger. It's walking away when no one's asking you to stay. It's loving someone who doesn't love you back and still choosing to rise anyway. That's a strength that doesn't shout. It's the kind that endures, even after the cameras stop rolling. If there was one moment in season 18 that truly cracked open everything that had been simmering for years, it was the explosion between Janelle and Cody. For a long time, Janelle was seen as the quiet stabilizer. She wasn't overly emotional, she avoided drama, and she often took the role of the peacemaker. But that calm exterior? It wasn't weakness, it was patience. And when that patience finally snapped, the impact was unforgettable. It started with tension that had been building since the pandemic, when Cody's controlling rules created deep rifts in the family. Janelle had already made it clear that she was frustrated with how he treated her kids, especially Gabriel and Garrison. But what really set things off was Cody's refusal to take any accountability. He kept trying to twist the narrative, make it seem like everyone else was the problem, and act like he was the victim of their disobedience. But Janelle wasn't playing that game anymore. In a scene that fans will never forget, she looked Cody straight in the eye and said, "I don't even know if I want to be with you." That sentence landed like a thunderclap. Cody was stunned. Not because he didn't know things were bad, but because, for the first time, Janelle wasn't cushioning the truth. She wasn't protecting his ego. She was done pretending. Cody's reaction? Furious, defensive. You could almost feel the emotional table flipping. He started spiraling, ranting about respect and loyalty and how he had been wronged. He twisted everything into being about his pain, ignoring the fact that Janelle had been holding this marriage together with grit and grace for years while he drifted further into Robyn's orbit. Instead of hearing her, he gaslit her. He tried to reframe her strength as betrayal, but Janelle didn't back down, not even during the intense Christmas fight when Cody was basically demanding blind allegiance. She stood her ground. She told him she wasn't going to beg, that she wanted peace, not chaos. And she wasn't going to fold to guilt or fear. That moment wasn't just about a marriage falling apart, it was about a woman reclaiming her voice. And viewers, we were cheering. Because Janelle had always been the steady one, the logical one. But now she was stepping into her power. She wasn't yelling or seeking revenge. She was just finally saying the truth out loud. No more excuses. No more covering for someone who refused to see her. Her honesty hit different because it came from a place of quiet strength. Janelle didn't explode because she wanted attention. She did it because she had nothing left to lose. And in doing so, she became the unexpected hero of the season. The one who showed us that dignity doesn't mean silence, and that sometimes strength means finally walking away from a man who only shows up when it benefits him. Season 18 was the season where the mask truly slipped for Kody Brown. For over a decade, he styled himself as the confident patriarch of a plural family. This man who could balance 4 wives, a dozen kids, and still keep control. But by the time this season hit its peak, what we were seeing wasn't leadership. It was collapse. Emotionally, mentally, and relationally, Cody was coming undone, and there was no mistaking it. Gone was the man who used to talk about unity and family. What we got instead was someone full of rage, resentment, and confusion about how everything fell apart, without ever stopping to ask himself what role he played in the destruction. It wasn't just one fight or one wife leaving, it was a slow unraveling, and every episode showed another thread being pulled. Cody spent most of season 18 trying to control a narrative that was no longer his. Instead of facing the reality that Christine left because she was unloved and unsupported, he turned it around and blamed her for dividing the family. He accused her of poisoning the well, of turning others against him, as if they hadn't already felt the weight of his favoritism and emotional absence for years. Then it was Janelle's turn. The moment she stood up for herself, he couldn't handle it. He attacked her loyalty, questioned her commitment, and basically blamed her for the breakdown. Again, not a word about his own behavior. No reflection. Just blame and bitterness. And through all this, one thing became painfully clear to everyone watching. Robyn wasn't just the favorite. She was the only wife he was showing up for. He kept insisting that she was the only one still loyal, still committed, but viewers could see it. This wasn't about love or family anymore. It was about control. And Robyn became the mirror that reflected back exactly what Cody wanted to see. That's why he clung to her so tightly. Not because of plural marriage, not because of shared faith, but because she didn't challenge him the way the others finally did. It was hard to watch, honestly. There were scenes where Cody looked physically different, tired, bitter, almost lost. You could see the weight of losing control over the narrative he built for so long. And instead of adapting or humbling himself, he doubled down. Yelled louder, blamed harder, loved smaller. For viewers who once saw him as the charismatic center of this unconventional family, it was jarring. The father figure image crumbled. The confident leader became isolated, paranoid, and angry. And the most tragic part? He still didn't see it. Still couldn't say, maybe I was wrong. By the end of season 18, Cody wasn't a man leading a plural family. He was just a man left behind by the women who outgrew the cage he built. And for those of us watching, it was a reminder that control isn't love. That loud doesn't mean right. And that sometimes the fall from grace is the only way the truth finally breaks through. Robyn Brown spent much of season 18 in tears. Her face, often streaked with mascara and emotion, became a symbol for something bigger than just heartbreak. She cried for the family. She cried for Cody. She cried for the dream of sister wives she says she wanted. But the question that kept echoing for so many viewers was, who was she really crying for? Because if we're being honest, the Robyn we saw on camera was not the outsider anymore. She was the center. And yet her monologues were all about loss and confusion. She kept saying how much she longed for closeness with Christine and Janelle, how she never wanted to be the wedge. But viewers weren't convinced. By this point, the fan perception of Robyn had shifted, and sharply. People saw the favoritism, The way Cody always backed her up, the way their family operated on her terms, her tears, her needs, it didn't feel like unity. It felt like control wearing a softer face. That infamous I wanted sister wives moment, it hit differently depending on who you ask. On the surface, it was emotional. She looked sincere. But many fans saw it as damage control, a way to rewrite her role in how things crumbled. Because if she really wanted those relationships, why didn't we see her fighting for them earlier? Why didn't she reach out more? Why didn't she challenge Cody when he tore into Christine or iced out Janelle? The truth is, Robyn's version of loyalty seemed to mean don't challenge Cody. And that's where things got complicated. Because for the other wives, especially Christine and Janelle, loyalty wasn't about obedience. It was about honesty, about standing up when things weren't fair, about protecting themselves and their kids. So while Robyn cried about the family falling apart, many viewers felt she already had what she wanted, a monogamous marriage disguised as plural life. And the tears? Maybe they were real, but they didn't change what fans had already seen with their own eyes. That Robyn wasn't just caught in the collapse. She was part of the foundation it all collapsed onto. There was a time when this family felt unbreakable. Imperfect, yes. Complicated, always. But still, united by a shared dream. A dream of love stretched across multiple homes, where sisterhood and faith held it all together. We watched birthdays, holidays, babies born, kids grow up. We rooted for them because somehow through all the chaos, they felt real. They felt hopeful. And now? Now we're watching that hope unravel into something raw and painful. But also, something honest. Because the truth doesn't always come wrapped in unity. Sometimes it shows up as heartbreak, silence, or someone finally walking away. Christine did that. Janelle spoke her truth. Even Mary, who held on the longest, had to face a family that was already gone. And Cody? His fall from leader to loner wasn't just a plot point. It was a consequence. So why are we still watching? Because in the ruins, there's something familiar. A search for healing. A fight for freedom. A demand for respect and equality. Even inside a family that promised something bigger. These women, whether they left with fire or with tears, showed us what it looks like to reclaim your voice. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think showed the most strength? Who do you still have hope for? Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button if this spoke to you in any way. I'm Olivia from TLC's Sister Wives Secrets, and I'll be right here with you, watching, remembering, and holding space for the truth, no matter how hard it is to hear. See you next time.